And now, Lifestyles Unlimited presents the Real Estate Investor Radio Show. Over the next hour, we unfold your map to financial freedom. You'll learn how to retire through investing in single-family and multifamily real estate. You'll learn how to create cash flow and build wealth so you can have the time and money to live the lifestyle you want.
Welcome to the Lifestyles Unlimited Real Estate Investor Radio Show. My name is Al Gordon, and as always, we're working on your information flow. And we're going to do so today by me bragging about the fact that I've retired myself by using real estate to get it done, and I don't have the same constraints that you have. No, I don't. I don't have the same constraints that you have. I am not bound by an alarm clock. I don't sit in commute traffic. I do what I want when I want. I come and go as I please. My only real obligation is to Lifestyles Unlimited. And to be honest with you, it's not really an obligation. It is my passion. Yeah, doing this radio show, this podcast for you, helping you understand that there's a way to get to where I've gotten to where many of the members of Lifestyles Unlimited have gotten to, that, to me, is a passion. That's not an obligation. That's not a requirement. It's none of that stuff. And I love doing it. I absolutely love doing it. So what am I going to brag about? Well, I'm going to brag about the fact that when I'm done with this radio show, I've got some options. I do. I've got some options. And let me just fill you in on what's going on. We are in the middle of rehabilitating our personal residence. I know you wanted me to say I'm rehabilitating a investment property, but that's not what I'm doing right now because I'm still on the hunt for the investment property that I'm trying to buy. In the meantime, Tina and I, we bought a house in Tennessee on a lake because we could, because we wanted to. And when we bought the house, we realized that there were some things within the interior of the property that didn't meet our standard. No, I'm serious. It just didn't meet our standards. The craftsmanship was poor. The materials were substandard. There were things we just didn't like, which was mostly the interior. So what are we doing? Well, we're pretty much gutting the house. Yeah, we're kind of treating our personal residence the way we would treat a single-family investment or a multifamily investment. We are figuring out what is wrong, which we did, and we are rehabilitating that. And we're just kind of going through the entire house. We started in the kitchen. We've pretty much taken the kitchen down to the studs. All the cabinets are gone. The flooring's gone. In its place are brand new cabinets that we installed. Now, why did we install them? Well, because it was something we wanted to do. Yeah, I'm serious. It was something we wanted to do. I've never installed cabinets before. My wife has never installed cabinets before, and we decided, let's give it a shot. How hard can it be? Because when we normally install cabinets, we have a team that does that for us in our real estate assets. But we don't have a team per se doing things for us. Well, that's really not true. I actually do have a team doing stuff for me. I've got a handyman who's got a crew, and I have them come in and do some of the things that Tina and we just don't want to do. So one of the things that we're having the handyman do is we're having him do the electrical stuff and a lot of the plumbing stuff, not because I don't know how to do it, but because I just don't want to do it. Now, I learned how to do all this stuff as a member of Lifestyles Unlimited. I mean, it was pretty easy to get that education. There were other members that were willing to allow me to come onto their properties and effectively learn the trades from the inside out, working alongside people that knew exactly what they were doing, that knew exactly what code was, knew exactly what standards were, and they improved their properties that way, and they taught me how to do that too. And you know what I did? I absorbed all that information. And one of the things that I learned was that I don't want to do that. I'm really not interested in pulling wire. I'm not interested in moving plumbing around. One of the things I did have to do, I had to move some gas lines. because they were in the wrong spot. My handyman, he's like, I don't touch things that go boom. And I go, well, lucky for you, I used to be in a line of work where things went boom, and it wasn't in the gas line business. It was the United States Army. So I'm okay with things going boom around me, and I understand safety, and I've been trained to do this stuff correctly. So I went ahead and I moved the gas lines because it was something that I wanted to do. So let me get back to today. What am I going to do after the radio show? Well, I've got a couple of things that I could do. Number one, I could finish the installation of the stove. Stove needs to go in. I'm just waiting for a gas line part to make the connection, and then I'll get the stove installed. But here's the thing. That part is coming via a courier, and that courier is not scheduled to be here until later on in the afternoon. So what else can I do? Oh, by the way, I didn't tell you, but Mrs. Gordon's not here. So the taskmaster is not here. So I can do anything I want. I could go up to my garage at the top of my property, and I could take my boat out, and I could take it down to the landing. I could launch my boat, and I could just go fishing for the rest of the day. That's something that I could do because I can do whatever I want. Here's something else I could do. I could just go for a walk on my property. I've got 5.5 acres of some of the most beautiful lakefront property. I could just take the dogs and go for a walk along my property and just enjoy nature. And nature right now is blooming all around me. The wildlife is incredible. The flora, the fauna, it is all incredible. I mean, my part of Tennessee has radically transformed over the last couple of weeks. There's a lot of new life everywhere that I look, and it's beautiful. And we've spotted a couple of eagles that apparently are living right by our property. I don't think they're living on our property, but they're living right by it because they fly by our property daily. Yeah, so there's like a pair of eagles, and it's a male and a female, so you might know what they're up to, and you're making little eagles probably. And I think that's really a neat thing. So I could go do that. I could just go for a walk, or I could get in my tractor. I could do some work around my property. I love driving my tractor around. I love being in the cab, kind of just all by myself, doing things to improve my property. It's something that I enjoy doing. Or something else I could do is I could just get in my side by side and go for a drive. Go drive and explore the roads around me. There's a ton of things that I could do, but what I'm really interested in doing right now is helping you understand that you can do what I'm doing right now. Stick around. Welcome back to the show. So I promised you that I was going to tell you how you could be doing what I'm doing. Well, here's how you do it. Get on a plane, fly to Nashville, tell me what time you arrive, give me your airline information so I know where to pick you up, and then we're going to drive out to my house, and you just come hang out with me and you just do what I'm doing. Because what I do is, well, it's kind of spontaneous. It's very spontaneous. Now, what you need to understand is the how. How am I able to do what I do? And the how came from making a very informed decision to become a member of Lifestyles Unlimited. Now, I realize there are some of you out there listening to me that have no idea what a Lifestyles Unlimited thing is. So let me just tell you what Lifestyles Unlimited is. It is a real estate education and mentoring company. Those are the two things that they do, and they do them extremely well. Lifestyles Unlimited has been in business for over 35 years. We're literally in our 36th year of existence. And what we do is we teach people like you, people like me, people like all the members of Lifestyles Unlimited, how to change their lives by deploying capital into real estate assets, which is completely different from what you're doing now for retirement. I know this to be a fact because I kind of used to do what you are doing now. I just don't do it anymore. I don't have any money in the stock market. I don't have money in an IRA. I never had money in a 401k because I was never afforded a 401k working for the Army. I do have a pension, That pension comes in every month. I consider it a part of my passive income because I no longer have to work for it. But here's the kicker with that pension. I spent 27 years of my life earning it. And the thing about that pension is it doesn't pay me nearly what I used to earn when I was serving in the United States Army. It pays me about a third of what I used to earn. So when I left the United States Army, when I was selected for retirement, instead of being promoted like I thought I was going to get promoted. Nope, didn't happen. I got retired. And I will tell you that was a gut punch because I wasn't ready to go. I was still happy to serve my country. Heck, we were still at war, and I felt that was my calling to do everything that I could within my ability to continue to serve in the United States Army, to do the things that the United States Army is called upon to do. But then I find myself retired, living off of 1/3 of what I used to make. And that was tough. That was really tough. I'm sure some of you have been in that situation, except I think your situation is more like you're making X amount of dollars, you get laid off, and you're making 100% less than that X amount of dollars, right? Yeah. And, for some of you, you're in job fields or career fields where employment isn't that hard. All you got to do is shoot that resume out to a couple of firms that you know that exist that are looking for talent like you, and getting hired isn't that difficult. For me, it wasn't that easy. I was 50 years of age. I was dealing with ageism. I was coming out of a organization where the highest and best skill set is killing the bad guys and breaking all their stuff. I mean, that's what the Army does. And when you consider what the Army does and what the Army grows in its personnel, all of that is lost on the civilian workplace. Now, there are people in the civilian workplace that are veterans or are married to service members or whatever. I mean, they get exposed to the military environment, and they realize that we in the military, we're pretty darn good at what we do. We're honed, we're focused, we get the mission accomplished, even when it seems like it's impossible. We have leadership skills, we have all kinds of things to bring to the table. But those skill sets aren't necessarily recognized because I think a lot of people just think that all we do is kill the bad guys and break their stuff. They don't think about all the other tangible and intangible benefits that we bring to the table. So we kind of get overlooked. Either that or I just did a terrible job writing up my resume. I don't know. Anyway, it took me 10 months to find employment. 10 months. And in that 10-month period of time, man, I was burning through savings. I was financing vehicles that I owned free and clear to create basically money to live off of while I was looking for a job. Found a job. Seemed like it was going to be an okay job. Turned out to be a not so okay job. Turned out to be one of these jobs where I was doing most of the heavy lifting because the people around me weren't really qualified to do the job. And more importantly, I was working for people that probably should have been working for me. You know what that feels like, right? I know you know that feels like. All right. So I took the job because I needed a job. And, I kind of thought I'd just tough it up and stick it out and maybe things would get better, but things never really got better. Things actually got a little bit worse in that job. The hours got longer, the demands got tougher, the pay didn't go up. There was never a meeting where we sat down and said, "Hey Al, we really like your performance," or "Hey Al, we really don't like your performance." I never had a performance review, and there was never a pay increase. So it was just kind of stagnant. And I felt like I should have ripped my hair out. I really did. And I got a lot of hair. I'm 62 years of age and I got all my hair. So there's a lot of hair to rip out. I'm glad I didn't do that. What I did instead was I started listening to the radio. And I always have been listening to the radio. But I stumbled across the organization. You've stumbled across this thing called Lifestyles Unlimited. And I started listening to the messaging. And I started thinking, These guys are very much like me. Now, they didn't all serve in the United States Army, but they all had the same fundamental problem. It was a problem in relation to retirement. It was a problem in relation to having to work a lot. It was a problem that every American endures, and they're looking for a way out. They just don't know how to do it. So that's one of the things that Lifestyles Unlimited brings to the table is that wherewithal of how to do it. And the solution is real estate investing. Investing in single family assets or multifamily assets. Now we could invest in other types of real estate, but we don't. We don't do it. And the reason we don't do it is because we know this. If you look across America, with the exception of the homeless population, everybody in America has a place to live. Everybody in America has a place that they call home. And that's part of the reason we invest in the residential arm of real estate, because there's demand for our product. And then when you become a Lifestyles Unlimited member and you understand how to develop that product so that you make it the best product for the best price, which attracts the best people, you actually learn how to build a real estate business that starts paying you 5 different ways: cash flow, equity capture, principal pay down, natural appreciation, the tax benefits. I mean, it's amazing. And then if you get into the multifamily space, you get something called forced appreciation too, which I'm not going to go into on today's show, but it's a bonus. So membership in Lifestyles Unlimited is what changed it for me, and it can change it for you too. In the next segment, I'm going to talk to you more about my journey, or more about what I may or may not be doing today. Stick around. Welcome back to the Lifestyles Unlimited Real Estate Investor Radio Show. My name is Al Gordon, and as always, we're working on your information flow. And what we're doing today is I'm kind of telling you about my lack of responsibility to really do anything today other than to speak to you on this radio show. It's pretty much, if I looked at my calendar today, that's all I've got on my calendar. And Mrs. Gordon decided to step out of the house. She wants to go look at some tile, and she had a doctor's appointment to stop at. So she's out of the house for most of the day, so I can do whatever I want. I could either work on the house, and I'll probably work on the house a little later on today, or I could go get my boat, and I could go do some fishing. Now, I'm kind of thinking about doing that. Part of the reason for doing that, there's 2 reasons. Number one, the crappie are spawning. They're on the flats. And the reports that I'm reading are that the crappie are they're biting like crazy. And if you've ever eaten crappie, they are delicious. They are a very delicious white flaky fish, and they're kind of small. They're like 2 to 3 pound fish, but they fight like they're much bigger than they are. So they're a lot of fun to catch. You catch them on light tackle. And the fact that during the break, Rick said, you got me focused on fishing. And I know Rick likes to fish. So what I think that I need to do is I need to go get my boat, put it on the water, go fish for some crappie, and let Rick live vicariously through me, because I know Rick's going to have to edit this radio show. And here's the other thing. Rick's down in San Antonio. I'm up in Tennessee. So, I mean, just getting Rick to jump out of the studio and come over to my house, that's kind of hard to do. But, Rick could pull it off. The kicker is he would just have to get to the San Antonio airport, fly to Nashville. I'd have to go pick him up and then bring him to my house. We might miss. I don't think you and I are going to be fishing today, Rick, but that's something that we could plan for future us, because we have flexibility. We have the ability to do things like that. Now, what I want to share with you is something that I think is very, very important. And I think you really need to think about what I'm about ready to lay down for you, because if you don't, you're going to be stuck doing what you do now. You ready for it? You need to consider you. Yeah, you need to consider you. When's the last time you considered you? I mean, when's the last time you really thought about what you want to acquire, what you want to do for your life, how you want to live your life, the things that are important to you, the things that you would like to do that you can't do because you're basically chained to a job. You are chained to a job. Now, some of those chains are connected to desks. Some of those chains are connected to vehicles. Some of those chains are connected to your own footwear. But you're putting in 8 hours or more a day, 5 days or more a week, and you're working pretty darn hard. And here's what I know. You're probably really good at what you do. I think you're really good at what you do, because if you weren't good at it, the people that keep you employed are either dumb or they like you. And I'm thinking it's the latter, not the former. Does that make sense? I think they like you. I think they like what you do. I think they recognize value in what you contribute to the organization, and they're willing to pay you to keep doing it. And it's a vicious cycle, isn't it? I mean, you're locked into a very, very vicious cycle, because you've got to produce the workload, right? And then they produce the check. And then you take that money and then you spend it, right? And then while you're spending that money, you're producing more workload. And what you're concerned about is you don't want that cycle to break, because the last time that cycle broke, it wasn't very easy to go through, was it? Now, I mentioned that some of you have jobs where if you lost your job, reemployability is not that difficult. I know there are people like you out there, but that's not everybody. And a lot of you, you're in career fields maybe where there's a lot of talent out there and not as many openings for that talent. So you're a little concerned that if you lost your job, there may not be another replacement job for you, or that replacement job may come along, but it may take time to identify it and acquire it. And there's no guarantee that you're going to acquire it, is it? No, there's no guarantees. I mean, you could go through the entire process of interviewing, getting called back for a second interview, doing the best that you can do in the second interview, and then finding out there's actually a third interview, and you go, well, I made it to the third, I must be golden, only to find out you weren't part of the selected class of people that get the opportunity to perform that job. Kind of sucks, huh? I know some of you have been in that position. Some of you have been in the position where you don't even get past the first interview, and you don't know why. What did you do wrong? Probably nothing, but for whatever reason, they didn't like you. They didn't want you. Let me propose something to you that you can start doing right now, that you can do concurrently with your job, because it doesn't take a ton of time. It does take a little effort on your part, takes some of your time, and I know you've got some free time, and it's not all dedicated to your family. Maybe you give up a little TV time, and you educate yourself on a different modality for investing that can completely change your life, that can get you to a place where I'm at, where many of the members of Lifestyles Unlimited are at. A place of financial freedom, a place of not having to work for somebody else. No requirement to do it, because you've developed something called passive income that comes in whether you do anything for it or not. You've created a machine that generates money for you. How much time would you be willing to put in to learning how to do that? Could you put an hour a week in? Maybe 2 hours? Could you possibly dedicate a weekend or a couple hours a night for 4 nights midweek? What I'm trying to tell you is that you can get all of the information delivered to you literally over a weekend. So if you have a weekend you can take off, you can get all this information. If you can't do it on the weekend, you can do it midweek, in the evenings, kind of like adult night school, but you don't have to go for like 16 weeks. You just have to go for 2 nights a week for 2 weeks. Would you be willing to do that? What if I told you by doing that, you would be armed with the information that you need to start changing your life? That you have enough information to literally step out of the classroom and put it into practice the next day. That you actually walk out of there with a roadmap or a game plan or a business plan or whatever you want to call it. We call it a roadmap because that's exactly what it is. And one of the things that sets Lifestyles Unlimited apart from any other organization out there that does what we do is, number one, we've been around longer than anybody else because we focus on the people. We don't focus on the income. We focus on the people. And I think that's important. The other thing that we do that is exceptional is that we have a community of like-minded real estate investors. It's a community that you become a part of, where you get to know other people doing exactly what you're doing. You get to meet people that have gone before you that are sending back maps. You get to meet people that are going concurrently with you. And those people are very important to your formation as a real estate investor. In the next segment, we'll talk about you being a real estate investor. Stick around. Welcome back to the show. So how are you holding up? I mean, are you picking up what I'm laying down? Are you thinking about the fact that you could change the trajectory of your life? That you don't have to implode anything in your life. All you got to do is do something a little bit different. And the first thing you need to do is to educate yourself. Because without the education, all this other stuff that we talk about on this radio show, it doesn't matter. Because you don't know how to put it into place. But when you get the education that Lifestyles Unlimited will provide you, everything makes sense. Everything clicks into place. Everything gets you focused. And what it does for you is it gives you a roadmap that you can follow. It lays everything out for you, what you need to do the very next day. So you want to hear some things that you might learn? You want to be teased a little bit? Okay, I'll give you some more. We're going to teach you how to build your team. And you're thinking to yourself, what? Build my team? That sounds like something easy. That makes sense. What do you mean by team? See, that's my point. You don't know what you don't know. You don't know who should be on your team. I will give you a little rundown just off the top of my head, not reading anything, of who's on my team. Lenders, mentors, realtors, handymen, general contractors, plumbing contractors, HVAC contractors, foundation contractors, roofing contractors. Shall I go on? Because there are more people that actually make up my team. Now, I just rattled those things off the top of my head. But I will tell you, before I became a member of Lifestyles Unlimited, I thought I was the team. Yeah, me, myself, and I. That's the team. I didn't realize there were all these entities out there that I could put on my team that would make me much better as a real estate investor. Now, right now, literally right now, I'm looking for an apartment community to buy. I told you, I think a week or so ago, maybe 2 weeks ago, that I had been working on one, and it just didn't work out. The seller and I could not agree on a price. And as a result of that, he was willing to allow me to overpay for the property. I was not willing to overpay for it. I had my mentors assisting me with that. I had my real estate agent assisting me with that. These are people that are on my team that were doing things for me to make me better at what I'm doing, giving me extra sets of eyes, ears, and conscience to make sure I don't do something dumb. And what we determined was I got to a certain price point that was my maximum, that I couldn't pay any more. The seller wasn't willing to come down to that number. We were like $100,000 apart. So I walked. Now, you might think, well, that wasn't very successful, Al. I mean, you weren't able to buy that property. And I will tell you this, I was very successful because I didn't get into a deal that would have become a financial quagmire for me. I knew exactly what the property was able to produce. I knew exactly what the potential of the property was. I knew what the owner had done to the property up to that point. I knew exactly what his rent rolls looked like. I knew exactly what his financials looked like. And I knew what the potential going forward could be for me and what I could afford to pay. And that was it. So now I'm back on the hunt. So now I'm back with my real estate agent. She's looking for me to find that next asset. Now, I'm not discouraged because I understand that this real estate investing is a numbers game. And there's plenty of assets out there for me to look at and choose from. It's just that I can't afford to pay more for a property than a property is really worth. And there are a lot of people that are wanting to sell their properties for more than they're really worth. So it creates kind of an interesting concept, or dynamic, I should say, in the market. But what does that have to do with you? Everything. Because when you learn what I have learned, you can do the exact same thing. Now, do you recall that I think I came to the conclusion I'm going fishing after this radio show? Well, I don't think I came to that conclusion. I know I came to that conclusion. So I'm going fishing. I'm going to go after some crappie. I'm going to spend about 3 or 4 hours on the water trying to identify where the fish are, throwing some lures out there and seeing if I can catch some. And if I catch some, great. And if I don't, at least I went out on the water. But I didn't have to go to work. You get my drift? You totally get my drift, right? Okay. So while I'm doing that, I can be thinking about my next investment. I can be going through in my mind the things I need to go through, which aren't a lot of things, because here's the point. I've got my team working hard for me. Yeah, it's back in my realtor's lane to help me find the next asset. She's the one that's plugged into all the resources. I mean, I'm plugged into some resources, but I'm not plugged in like she's plugged in. She knows everybody. And that's why she's on my team, because she knows everybody. She knows who the movers and shakers are. She knows who gets deals done. And that's the person I want to be working with, is the person that's done her homework to be the best in the field. And yeah, Cindy, I think you're one of the best in the field. Yeah, I gave a shout out to Cindy, who's on my team. You can do this too. In addition to what you're doing for a job, and even though I know you get home at night and you feel like the job has taken all of it out of you, you can still do this. You carve out a little time to get the education done. The education is very, very important. It creates the fundamentals for everything you're going to do. Once you get the education done, you start out. You meet with a mentor. You get sage wisdom, sage advice. And basically what they're going to do is they're going to help you understand your plan moving forward. Because you may have a plan that may or may not work, and they may be able to identify things that will work for you and things that won't. And that's why you have that mentor on your team, to give you that third-party information that you need to hear. Oh, and by the way, if you're using the right mentor, they're doing exactly what you want to do. So if you're going to be a single-family investor, probably need to be talking to somebody that's a mentor of single-family assets. You're going to do multifamily? Same scenario, except multifamily, right? So you have a conversation with your mentor. Make sure your plan is as accurate as your plan needs to be. Then you continue building your team, because you've got to get all the players on your team. Now, where do you build your team? Because that's important. So you have to know where you want to invest. That's another conversation you need to have with your mentor. Because when you know where you want to invest, when you've identified your target market, it's easier to build your team because you know where to look for your teammates. And you put the people on your team that you need to put on your team. And then you utilize their services because that's why they're on your team. They bring something to the equation that you can't bring yourself or you just don't want to bring yourself. Now, I mentioned earlier in the show, I'm rehabbing my principal residence. I've got teammates for this particular asset, which technically isn't an asset because it really doesn't provide me any income. It just provides me a place to live and a place to spend my money. But I'm creating the home that Mrs. Gordon wants, and that's important to me. That's important to her. That's something that we're doing in our version of retirement. So we're living a lifestyle that I couldn't have lived when I was serving in the United States Army because it was all go, 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 kind of like your life is right now. And then when I left the Army, I got into another career field that was go, go, go. But I learned in that career field about Lifestyles Unlimited. I went through the educational program. I did it on a weekend. It totally opened my eyes. And then I started following the roadmap that I was taught. And that has led me to where I am today. I am very, very satisfied with my life today. There's nothing wrong with it. It is supported by passive income. And here's the neat thing. I'm not done developing passive income because I'm still on the hunt for my next investment opportunity. Sometimes it just takes a little more time. I'm not discouraged. I'm going to get it done. It's a beautiful place to be. And there's no pressure on me to get it done other than the fact that I do tend to put a little pressure on myself. So if you're thinking about maybe not working till the age of 60, if you're thinking about maybe not working in the next 5 to 10 years, I would highly encourage you to check out Lifestyles Unlimited because when you check us out, you're going to find we're the real deal. We're going to teach you what nobody else has taught you in life. And then we're going to provide you a roadmap that you can follow with all types of services available that augment that roadmap to make this process as easy on you as possible. If you want to do what I'm doing, you want to do what the members of Lifestyles Unlimited are doing, go to lifestylesunlimited.com, sign up for that free workshop, and let's get you going.
Thank you for listening to Lifestyles Unlimited's Real Estate Investor Radio Show. Ready for more of the map? Visit lifestylesunlimited.com. Explore our videos and articles. Click on the radio tab to access past show podcasts. View the radio show schedule and listen to our best of radio shows. Want to continue the conversation? Follow Lifestyles Unlimited on Facebook today. We want to meet you as well. Sign up for a free workshop at lifestylesunlimited.com. Until next time, remember, it's not the money, it's the lifestyle.
The information and opinions you hear on the Lifestyles Unlimited Real Estate Investor Radio Show are those of the hosts, guests, and callers and do not necessarily reflect the opinions of this station, its affiliates, its management, or advertisers. The Lifestyles Unlimited Real Estate Investor Radio Show is for entertainment purposes only. Please consult a professional regarding your personal investment needs. Nothing presented on the Lifestyles Unlimited Real Estate Investor Radio Show constitutes an endorsement, recommendation, offer, or solicitation to buy or sell any product or security.